Hi, AFCA members. My name is Carly Porteous. I'm the General Manager of the Australian Forest Contractors Association, and we're really excited to be here today to present the launch of our Industry Masterclass series and to answer some questions you may have in determining whether this is the right program for you. AFCA recently called for expressions of interest for its mentoring program, and feedback through this expressions of interest indicated that perhaps we didn't quite hit the mark, hence the relaunch of the Industry Masterclass series. The series will focus on more professional development and some peer networking opportunities after these professional development sessions. I'd like to now introduce you to Michelle Redfern, who I've known for some years now. Michelle is a non-executive director, a small business owner and ex-business executive. Michelle is a renowned leader in business strategy with a key ability to impart her knowledge around financial and business acumen, and is here, thankfully for us, to help AFCA members take their business to the next level. Welcome, Michelle.
Thanks, Carly. Wonderful to be here.
So, Michelle, we have a few questions that our members may be thinking as they, looking at this upcoming registration for the Industry Masterclass series. And they want to know if this program's the right program for them. So if it's okay with you, we might get stuck in with a couple of questions that we received through the registration process.
Yeah, sure.
So one of our members asked me that their question was, Michelle, I work on the job. I'm sort of always in my business. How is this masterclass series or this Industry Masterclass series going to assist me in helping to prioritise the functions in my business that I should be focusing on to get better performance?
And it's a good question. And for those of us who are running a business, as well as, we are the business, and I'm a sole proprietor of a couple of different businesses. So I totally get where this question's coming from. But what I find, so my own experience as a business owner, as well as helping other business owners prioritise how they go from good to great, is that we do have to carve out time to work on the business rather than in the business. So easy for me to say, less easy for business owners to do. I totally get that. However, what I found useful is following a piece of advice that I was given when I first started my business just over 8 years ago. And my friend and mentor at the time said, Redfern, whatever you do, make sure that you block out some time, whether it's every week or every fortnight, where you just think about planning. What's next? What can I, what's my direction? What do I need to be doing here? And he said, because other than that, you're going to get on this hamster wheel and you'll be okay, but you won't actually, maximise your business. You won't maximise what it is that you want to do in the world. So, my advice to people is, I get it. I get that finding the time can seem like an insurmountable task when there's already a pretty long task list when we're running our own businesses. But what I have found useful is being really disciplined about saying, well, when am I going to work on me and when am I going to work on my business so that I can actually find ways to be more efficient, find networks of people that can help me learn, frankly, new stuff that's going to help me be better in my business and serve my customers better. So I get it, but it's a little bit like, when you decide to go, well, I need to get fit. Gee, where am I going to fit that into? You actually have to just make it happen. So this is about getting your business fit and you fit to make sure that your business does sustain, but also grows in a way that works for you. So, the other saying that I really like is, the journey to mastery, and whether it's mastery of your craft, of your business, of leadership, whatever it may be, it's a lifelong one. It's never over. So I think we all have to, commit to that continuous development of ourselves as humans, as business owners, as leaders.
Thanks, Michelle. That's great advice, and I like the term business fit. And, that really does require finding, making or prioritizing that time to work on your business. And we all know what it's like when you do want to get fit. It doesn't magically happen. It does require some work. I'd like to also introduce on the call, we've got Ian Reid, who's an AFCA director and also one of our members who was quite keen in the original mentoring program and the way that was laid out. Ian, thanks for joining us. I'm sure you've got some questions as a business owner and as a member of AFCA for the Industry Masterclass series.
Yeah, thanks, Carly, and thanks, Michelle, for joining us. Yeah, I think one of the things as a business owner is it's always hard to find the time to prioritise. There's always something happening, and you never know what's around the corner. But you've sort of got to make time to make these things happen. What sort of how much time do you think I would need on a weekly or fortnightly basis to be successfully complete something like this?
Look, I'm going to give the strategist answer there, Ian, and it depends. For some of the AFCA members, it can be a light touch, and it might be just getting back in touch with people. The networking side of it, hearing about some tips, tricks, techniques, tools that will be useful. But for others, it might be more of actually, I really need to get stuck in here. So I'd love to say you're going to spend 45 minutes a week, Ian, and you're going to do this, but it's really going to depend on where you are on the spectrum of what do I need to do for my business. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, look, if you were to say an hour a fortnight on average, I'll just say, that takes into account when we all get together, whether it's on Zoom or Teams, a little bit of reading. One thing that I know that I'm really good at is I've got lots of access to lots of great information and tools and techniques. So the ability to share that with members, and then they can read it at their leisure. But again, I think it comes back to the first question that Carly asked me, is that carving out the time. If you can carve out 10 minutes a day or say an hour a fortnight to say, I'm actually going to get myself and the business into a position where, number one, I've got clarity about what I need to do, because some of this stuff is about saying, well, what do I do? I don't have clarity about what the next steps are, or maybe what I should be thinking about for my business. It might just be that. And then you say, okay, at the end of the period of the masterclasses, I've got an action plan. And then you reset again to go, okay, what's my plan for the next 6 months? So, I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed as a result of participating in this series. And I know, and I recognise you do you the way you want to do you. So take the information and then absorb it and action it in a way that works for you. So this is not ever designed to be, and it's certainly not my philosophy that you've got to attend, you've got to do some homework and then front up and show your homework. We're not at school, right? We're all big smart people. So this is about sharing information with the members to say, you use this in a way that works for you when it works for you. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. That was good.
Thanks, Michelle. And I guess there's a little bit of you get out what you put in a little bit with these programs as well, and how much you can dedicate to it. And of course,
but I also recognise, sorry, Carly, and different people are going to have different preferences for the way they want to engage. Some people, like me, I'm a screaming extrovert, so I'm happy to front up and say hello and network and chat to a lot of people at any time. And I learn by speaking with people and learning from people. Others will kind of want to hang back and say, let me just absorb the information. So this is very much designed, it's adult learning, and it's designed to say you are an individual and you can work and participate at your own pace and in a way that works for you.
Cool. Thanks, Michelle. I had another question, and this is probably quite symbolic of a lot of the businesses in AFCA that are second, third, fourth, and I even met a fifth generation business a couple of months ago. And I guess the information has been imparted from one generation to the next. And you know, without probably much communication with other businesses on how they might do things, as well as the masterclass series on a particular topic. The industry masterclass series from Africa is also going to focus on a peer-to-peer networking opportunity after each of these classes. For someone, how important do you think that peer-to-peer networking opportunity is for someone that has been in a multi-generational business?
Huge. You know, there's not one way of doing anything in the world. And, you know, sure, if again, I can use my own experience, and particularly as a manager and as an executive, you know, I learned from my dad, I learned from my bosses and what have you, but I also learned from other people in different industries. The same is applied with my own business. You know, yes, I could continue to run my business the way I started running it eight or so years ago, but I've learned from networking with and working with different sorts of people across different industries, alternative ways of being more efficient, or tools, particularly, you know, technology, social media, things like that. So I guess, you know, and I love the phrase, you know, you got to continuously sharpen the axe, which I think is quite appropriate for your sector. But, you know, you got to keep sharpening the axe. You would not use a blunt axe or a blunt instrument in your craft. And we've got to keep sharpening that axe. And it goes the same for us as business owners. The world moves really quickly. There's new legislation and new policies, which I know AFCA does a really great job of aggregating and giving that information to its members. But there's also new and different ways of doing business. And some of them can be really helpful for solopreneurs, solo business owners or small business owners, because ultimately we're always trying to do more with a set of finite resources. So being able to network with people who have perhaps done it differently, you can take what you need and say, well, okay, that could work in my business. So I think it's a really important mindset shift to say, yep, I've been working in a multi-generational successful business. What don't I know? And what more could I find out that's going to help this business sustain for the next generation and the generation after that?
Thanks, Michelle. And you sort of talk about having the conversations and learning from people that have done things differently, and that includes mistakes, which I know you spoke about at Chirel in November with the membership at the launch of the mentoring program. So it's always nice to know what not to do as well as what has worked before. Ian, I might hand the last question to you if you've got one.
Yep, yeah, I have. So what do you think the key things I can expect to get from a masterclass, Michelle?
I think I know what we're going to cover is, you know, some of the, I guess, the basics and the new, the principles around running a business really efficiently. So there's a couple of things. What networks? So networking, I'm a really big fan of strategic networking. And, you know, networking doesn't mean you've got to show up to every, you know, one cheese night conference, you know, whatever it may be. Networking, I mean, we're networking right now. So I think there's the opportunity to learn how powerful networking can be for you as an individual as well as for your business. There's certainly a big piece on financials. You know, I think that, and this is you know, there's some statistics from the Australian Bureau of Statistics around small business in Australia, which of course we know that small business in Australia makes up 90 to 92% of all business, huge part of our country. But we also know that small business often go out of business or stop being viable within 2 to 3 years. And it's because fail to keep an eye on cash, you know, or debtors management, things like that. So a really big component around, you know, what are the things we need to look out for in terms of managing the money, managing the financials of the business. And that goes beyond the, you know, the ins and outs of the, you know, reading a profit and loss and balance sheet, so much beyond that. And then, of course, how to position your business for success. And the business in the businesses in AFCA, very different to my business, but there's some principles there around, what about our customers? Who are our customers and our stakeholders? What do we need to know about them, and what do we need to do a little bit better for them? So it's really a holistic look at how can you take your business from good to great with some really basic building blocks around strategy, around finance, and around some of those broader business fundamentals.
So Michelle, with that, they're good points. Contracting business as a general, where there's not many of us. The people we work for always work on a divide and conquer basis. There's rules that we can't collude and things like that. So how do we get around all that?
Yeah, and look, I'm really, we need to be mindful of, again, cartel-like behaviour, collusion and things like that. So, and I think, and I know that AFCA walks a very, very straight line with regard to that and being a provider of information. So this is absolutely about enabling each business to, understand the landscape that we're working in. So there's acknowledgement of, this is the environment that we work in. What might be the possibilities for us to be more successful? No, we're absolutely not suggesting collusion and what have you, but there are non-collusion type behaviours that we can invoke, I guess, in the industry. So, and I look at some simple things. Even in one of my networks at the moment, I've got 2 business owners shared with me 2 technology tools that I went, oh wow, I need that because that's going to make me super efficient. One of them's an email management tool. I don't know about the rest of you, but email's the bane of my existence. And I've got, a whole bunch of things. We're all plate spinning, right? We're all making sure we're keeping them in the air. So what are some of those practical things that we can share with each other, including external experts that we're going to bring in to say, have a look at this. This might be able to give you an efficiency play that helps you just squeeze a little bit of extra productivity out of your organisation and give you a bit of, peace of mind to say, okay, I've got my finger on the switch, but I've also got some space to look after my family and look after myself as well. So, those are the types of things. It's generic but targeted, but most certainly wouldn't be around, we're not going to talk about contracts and customers and, navigating things like that. We're talking about businesses and quite frankly, without, I don't want to downplay it, but, this type of environment, which I've done before for a couple of other in another couple of parts of the world, is also about, we want to come in to collaborate on things that make sense, not compete. And, this type of program, I could put it into any industry because it's absolutely about how to run a business really successfully.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. I think that's covered off the questions certainly that we got through that expressions of interest program, and Ian, I hope it's covered off the questions that you had. Michelle, I'm pretty excited to get on and launch the Industry Masterclass series. I know that we're going to spend a little bit more time with you to really knuckle down the specific topics for the masterclasses throughout the year, but we'd also love to hear from those that are considering being part of the Industry Masterclass series to let us know what topics they may be interested in as well. And hopefully we can incorporate and build that into the ones that we've already discussed. Michelle, thank you very much for your time again. We're super excited to launch this series and can't wait to get started. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure.